Um, on the State of the Union last night, the President highlighted two areas where the EPA plays a critical role, and that's on regulatory reform and infrastructure. People are often quick to forget that President Trump is first and foremost a builder. In fact, in my opinion, he is the first infrastructure president that we have had since Dwight Eisenhower created our national highway system. He knows how to get things built. He knows how to get projects done, whether you're talking about building a road, building an office building, building a hotel, or growing a farm. He understands the importance of infrastructure and the importance of the federal process, how the federal government can be helpful through permitting, and how the federal government can stand in the way. And he wants to make sure under his leadership that our entire team, his entire team across the entire federal government, is helping people instead of hurting them, helping people get permits, helping people move forward with growing their businesses, their livelihoods, their family farms, without standing in the way and being an impediment to that growth. We can't do it without world-class infrastructure. And we can't build world-class infrastructure if it's stifled by red tape and bureaucratic gridlock. At EPA, we're playing a leading role in the President's efforts to remove regulatory burdens, streamline permitting requirements, and unleash new infrastructure investments throughout the nation. One of those regulatory burdens was the 2015 Waters of the U.S. rule. When President Obama's EPA put forward the 2015 definition, they claimed it was in the interest of water quality, but it was really about power in the hands of the federal government over farmers, developers, and landowners. And we are putting an end to that power grab. In December, we proposed our new definition, and now we are moving forward with the next steps. We are hosting a webinar on February 14th and a public hearing in Kansas City on February 27th and 28th. Our proposal is available online right now on the EPA website, and it will be published in the Federal Register next week. It should have been published before now, but with the shutdown in January, we were delayed getting it published. It will be published next week, and then the 60-day comment period clock starts. I want you all to please take a close look at it and comment. Let us know if we got it right. Let us know if there's room for improvement. It's important that we hear from everyone. We will hear from a lot of people who are unhappy with it. We'll hear from a lot of people who want us to go back to the 2015 rule. It's important that your voices are heard. Please let us know what you think about our proposal. It is not final yet. We will be taking comment, and then we will adjust the proposal to get everybody's views and viewpoints from around the country before we go final with the wilderness rule. I want to highlight three overarching principles that are central to the new proposed definition. First, and this is something that Dave probably got tired of hearing me say, but he didn't need to have me say it, which is why he got tired of me saying it, because he completely agrees with me on this. It's important that a property owner should be able to stand on his or her property and be able to tell whether or not the water they have on their property is federal without having to hire outside professionals. I say that as a former outside professional who used to do that. Number two, we are clearly defining the difference between federally protected waterways and state protected waterways. This is something that's never been highlighted in the past. The federal government is not the only governmental unit out there protecting waters. States do it as well. And in fact, if the federal government were to pull out of regulating waters, which we're not going to, if we were to, most of the waters already protected by the federal government would be protected by the states. That is a very important distinction that is lost on a lot of environmental organizations, and it's lost a lot in the media. The federal government is not the only person out there regulating water. We want to make sure our definition is clear so that everybody understands it, and that there's a difference between a federal waterway and a state waterway. Number three, that we are providing the certainty that the American public needs in a manner that will be upheld by the courts. In order to do that, we closely follow the language of the Clean Water Act and the relevant Supreme Court decisions. And we believe our proposal will be upheld in the courts, and it will be the law of the land for years to come. We want to take away that uncertainty that we've had over the last 10 or 15 years with each administration coming in and trying to change the rules and it getting held up in the courts. We want a definition, which is why we pay close attention to what the Supreme Court said, so that and we know that this will be challenged, so that when it goes through the legal process, when it gets up to the Supreme Court will bless us and say, yes, this is what we meant by waters of the U.S. That was our goal, and I think Dave and his team accomplished that in the proposal. But again, we're happy to refine it if people have other suggestions. Our proposal would ensure that America's water protections among the best in the world remain strong, while giving states and tribes the ability to manage their waters in a way that best protect their natural resources and local economies. Georgia has invested significant resources to understand and protect its waterways. This state takes pride in its ability to protect its natural resources, and it's time that Washington, D.C. recognize that. Our proposal identifies 6 categories of waters that are waters of the U.S. Number 1, traditional navigable waters. Number 2, tributaries to those waters. 3, certain ditches, such as those used for navigation. Number 4, certain lakes and ponds. Number 5, impoundments. And number 6, wetlands that are adjacent to the above 5. The proposal also details what are not waters of the U.S. And this is very important, because we're not only saying what is a water of the U.S., we're also saying what's not a water of the U.S. Features that only contain water during or in response to a rainfall will no longer be a federal water. Groundwater will not be a federal water. And many ditches, including most roadside and farm ditches. A ditch that a farmer dug on his or her property would not be a water of the U.S. Also out will be prior converted cropland, stormwater control features, and wastewater and waste treatment systems. For the first time, we are drawing a line between federally protected waterways and state protected waterways. In fact, the same day that the proposal was signed, we convened a work group of EPA and Army Corps scientists to explore ways we can accurately map and depict which waters are in and which waters are out. Right now, because of litigation, the 2015 rule is in effect in 22 states, while the previous regulations issued in the 1980s are in effect in the remaining 28 states. Our proposal would end this confusing regulatory patchwork and establish national consistency. I also want to point out that our proposal would not impact other federal water protections, such as the Safe Drinking Water Act, or our ongoing restoration efforts, such as the Chesapeake Bay, the Great Lakes, the Everglades, the Gulf Coast. The waters that contribute to those important estuaries and water bodies will still remain in effect. Our goal is a more precise definition that gives the people of Georgia the freedom and certainty to do what they do best: build homes, grow crops, and develop infrastructure projects that improve the environment and the lives of their fellow citizens. It's no secret that the U.S. has fallen behind with respect to infrastructure. In 1930, it only took 11 months to complete what was then the world's tallest building, the Empire State Building. Today, it can take 11 months just to get a permit approved. We owe it to the American public to do better than that. Infrastructure is not only the backbone of our economy, it's also essential to clean and safe water. At EPA, we are taking the lead in financing new water infrastructure projects and accelerating them through to completion. Through the Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act, WIFIA, we are able to provide long-term, low-cost loans that, combined with other state and local funding, can get major infrastructure projects off the ground. By the end of 2018, EPA closed 7 WIFIA loans to help finance over $4 billion for water infrastructure projects and create up to 6,000 jobs around the country. And that's just the beginning. In November, we invited 39 new projects to apply for the WIFIA loans to finance over $10 billion in water infrastructure upgrades. We invited 2 projects in Georgia to apply. The first, a project in Decatur that would repair an aging wastewater collection and treatment system, and the second, a project in Atlanta that would construct a new storage tank to prevent sewage overflows during heavy rains. Combined, these 2 projects will improve the lives of almost 1 million Georgians. This is good government in action. Federal, state, and local officials working together to finance projects that protect the environment and create jobs. Good government also means nimble and responsive government, and that means that we must accelerate our permitting responsibilities. Prior to this administration, EPA was not systematically tracking permit decisions. When the Trump administration came in 2 years ago, we said we want to speed up the permit process. EPA, how long does it take for you to issue a permit? We weren't tracking it. You can't improve the process if you aren't tracking how long it takes. Can you imagine tracking your year-to-year crop yields if you don't count how much your crop yield is each year? It's insane to think that we weren't even tracking how long it took us to process a permit. So we changed that. We implemented a new lean management system, and we're now tracking the time it takes to issue permits. And our goal is to make all permit decisions up or down in 6 months. I'm not suggesting that we will approve all permits within a set amount of time, but I am suggesting that we will make a decision. And that's what I think we owe to the American public. A decision, yes or no, up or down, within a set amount of time. I'm proud of the progress we're making across the agency on behalf of the American public. It's no secret that many Americans were not happy with the direction of the previous EPA. Yet as America has proven time and time again, we have a remarkable capacity for self-renewal. Winston Churchill once said, "We can always count on Americans to do the right thing after they've exhausted all other possibilities." Thanks to President Trump, we are doing the right thing. In just 2 years, EPA has finalized 33 major deregulatory actions, saving Americans roughly $2 billion in regulatory costs. At the same time, we are jump-starting new infrastructure projects, and we're moving forward with common-sense environmental protections. Most importantly, we're focusing these efforts on communities that were previously and wrongly written off or forgotten. As a result, the economy is thriving, pollution is on the decline, and the state of our union and the state of our environment are stronger, safer, and healthier because of President Trump's leadership. Thank you for your time, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. And it's my privilege to introduce Dave.